Hey guys. This is Yuruzi and I bring to you part 5 of What If Naruto Have Artemis Inside His Soul. When her fight with Atlas is interrupted by Luke using the power of Kronos, Artemis, goddess of the hunt and moon, finds herself in the apartment of a familiar whiskered blonde. Low on power, badly hurt, and possibly being hunted, the huntress decides to hide inside the most unlikeliest of places, Naruto's soul. Only one problem, she isn't alone in there. Hit like and subscribe if you like this one, and also please check the author in the description. This part will cover chapters 17 to 18. Let's start. Chapter 17. Last time. Mama Mav. Tisho said between bites, getting Anko's smirk to widen as she patted the Lamia's head. Yep, Mama very mad. Yep, so unless either him and Artemis fully remerge into one mind again, or they somehow sever that connection for good, he'll never be able to use a summon contract. Jiraiya said with a defeated sigh. Shame too, I was really looking forwards to teaching him just like his old man. You win some, you lose some, Jiraiya. You'll just have to be happy with what you can teach him then. And now. Standing outside the academy building, Naruto grinned while Ino and Choji stood on either side of him, the former a mix of excited and nervous while the latter was calmly munching on a bag of chips like he always was. You guys ready for this? Naruto asked while glancing at his two teammates. As I'll ever be. Ino replied while Choji simply nodded his head. Alright, then what are we still standing out here for? Naruto asked rhetorically as he rushed towards the building, with the other two soon following after him. Too impatient to use the front door, Naruto leapt up the side of the building and walked straight to an open window on the 3rd floor. The moment he hopped inside though, the whiskered blonde suddenly found in front of a familiar bun-haired girl and her teammates, as they walked up the staircase. Oh hey Tenchan, bushy brows, Niji team, you guys here for the Chunin exams as well? Yep, we've actually been preparing for it a while now, Tenten stated, giggling a bit when she saw Niji's eye twitch in annoyance while Lee exclaimed something about the flames of youth. And let me guess, the Hokage was so impressed by what happened in Kanoko that he let Team 10 join this time as well. I guess, and Tatsu-sensei didn't really say anything other than we were allowed to enter, Naruto said with a shrug, glancing behind himself briefly to see a humored Ino and still chill Choji clamber inside through the window as well. He just told us what it was and said to show up today. And a heads up on the fake-out test I see. Tenten added with a faux dirty look, only to stop when she saw the honest confusion on Naruto's face. What fake-out test? The whiskered blonde asked with a raised brow. You know, the one they're doing on the 2nd floor, where they try to trick you into thinking you're on the 3rd floor, so you can't make it to the actual meeting area. The bun-haired girl described, only to be met with more confusion. Isn't that why you came in through the window? No, we just did that because someone seems to keep forgetting what a door is for, Ino said while playfully swatting the back of her fellow blonde's head. In my defense, it is faster than taking the stairs, Naruto said, even as he smiled sheepishly. And it even helped us avoid a trap this time, even if unintentionally. Touché. Should have figured it was something like that, Tenten muttered with a soft giggle before gesturing to her head. So how's Artemis doing? She still up in your noggin somewhere? That I am Tenten, it is good to see you again, Artemis said through Naruto, making the bun-haired girl's smile widen a little. Same here, sorry I didn't visit like I said I would. You know how hectic the last week and a half has been. Of course, the circumstances weren't exactly favorable at the time, Artemis said with an understanding nod. Though it should be Tisho you apologize to, she has missed you quite a bit. Hey guys, not to butt in or something, but I think we should get going. The first test is supposed to start in 20 minutes, Ino said while pointing to a clock that was hung on the wall. Right. We shouldn't miss this opportunity to show the world our flames of youth. Lee cheered before rushing off ahead, leaving an exasperated Tenten and Niji to follow after him with Naruto and company in tow. Thankfully they didn't have to go very far though, as the meeting room was just around the corner, indicated by the Chunin waiting by the door to take the admission forms they had. After quickly handing him the filled-out paperwork and getting the stamp of approval, Naruto and Lee excitedly pushed through the double doors and the 6 of them found themselves standing within a large classroom. They weren't the only ones there either, as several dozen other teens could be seen meandering around with either bored, excited, or nervous expressions. Most of them were clumped together with others of their village, with the only exceptions being Konohas and a few solo genin that were cautiously scouting out the competition. Upon noticing Team 9 and Team 10's entrance, more than a few of the gathered ninja immediately started to send the 2 newly arrived teams death glares and small flares of Ki to intimidate them. This had almost no effect though, as either Naruto or Lee noticed the dark looks. Tenten, Ino, and Niji simply shrugged them off, and Choji just kept munching on his seemingly never-ending bags of chips. Man, I didn't think this many people would be showing up. This is gonna be way more fun than I thought it would be, Naruto thought with a grin, happy at the prospect of a decent challenge. Don't get too excited, Naruto, you'll need to keep your guard up at all times from here on out, Artemis told him, making her host deflate slightly. Way to be a buzzkill, Ardine, Naruto thought with a pout. Someone has to be, otherwise you'd never be able to focus on what you needed to do, Artemis said, rolling her eyes good-naturedly. Hey, I'm not that dash. Hey look, Hinata is here too. Naruto froze as Ino's sentence registered in his head, a blush cropping up on his face as he saw said Hyuga heiress walking up to them shyly along with her teammates Kiba and Shino. Hey guys, I'm glad to see that you made it, Hinata said, only stuttering a little bit for once as a light blush spread across her cheeks. Yeah, we were starting to wonder if you guys would actually show up, Kiba said with a wide grin, Akamaru yipping in agreement from his spot in the Pharaoh boy's coat. Sorry about that, Naruto had to find a new babysitter for T-Show at the last minute because Sakura's surgery got bumped up to today, Ino said, getting Hinata to nod and understanding while Kiba tilted his head in confusion. Who is this T-Show you speak of? Shino asked what the dog boy was wondering, his eyebrow raised in mild curiosity. Oh right, we never did introduce you guys to her. Hang on, I think I got a picture of her on me somewhere, Ino said before reaching into her kunai pouch and pulling out a small folded-up picture that she looked over quickly with a smirk. Yep, this is the one. Holding it out for the pair to see, Kiba and Shino found themselves looking at a small photo of the little Lamia atop a smiling Naruto's head while the whiskered blonde himself was resting his chin atop an amused Artemis, all 3 of them at Ichiraku's with noodles hanging from their mouths. Meanwhile, Ino and Choji were seated in the background, the former holding up her hands behind Naruto and Artemis's heads doing a bunny ears gag while the latter was happily chowing on a large bowl of beef ramen. This is T-Show, Naruto's recently adopted daughter, Ino said while pointing to the small snake girl, pausing a moment to think of the best way to describe the situation. Okay, that was certainly the last thing I expected to see today, Kiba said with a flabbergasted expression as Ino put the photo back away. That was most unexpected indeed, Shino said with a small nod. Though now I am curious about that other girl in the picture. I do not believe I have seen her within the village before. Oh, that's Naruto's sister. She's pretty reclusive, so it's no real surprise if you haven't met her, Ino explained, already having a few excuses as to why no one had really seen Artemis before since she knew Naruto didn't like talking about his condition. Wait, you have a sister? Kiba asked Naruto with a surprised look, who nodded his head slowly while avoiding looking towards Hinata, who couldn't help but giggle at his bashfulness. Why didn't you tell us? Because you're a horn dog that would have probably never stopped hitting on her if I did, Naruto stated bluntly, making Ino, Hinata, Tenten, and Choji laugh at the dog boy's busted face. He's got you there, Shino said before Kiba could say anything in his defense, making his teammate shoot a betrayed look at him. Anyway, we also came over here to give you all a warning. A warning? What, are you guys seriously trying to scare us off too? Ino asked incredulously. No, nothing like that, I just meant that you should be careful, particularly around those 3. Shino said with a small shake of his head before pointing over to a corner where a trio of young women wearing headbands with a flower symbol stood, each one carefully eyeing the occupants of the room. The ones to left and right were pretty similar in appearance, with short brown hair, narrow faces, and lightly tanned skin, while the one in the middle and apparent leader of the group had black hair, green eyes, and wore a tannish white cloak. That chick in the middle has been taking swings at people ever since they arrived, Kiba said with a frown, baring his teeth slightly when the cloaked girl looked in their direction. We believe she is testing the waters, so to speak, since she only strikes once or twice before withdrawing, though for some reason she has only instigated attacks with other kunoichi. Shino explained further. She even attacked Hinata, Kiba growled, causing Naruto's gaze to snap towards the brunette as the dog boy pointed to a long scratch in her jacket. It was completely out of the blue, no reason or anything. Well, don't worry, if she tries anything with us, she'll regret it, Tenten said confidently, twirling a kunai on her finger. Oh really? And is that an actual threat, or just a hollow threat? An unknown female voice asked from behind the weapon user, making her freeze up in surprise for a split second before spinning around and swinging at the cloaked girl that was there. However, thanks to her brief hesitation, she was just a little bit too slow, and the unknown girl landed a slash across the bun-haired girl's chest with a small ornamental dagger, leaving a shallow gash in her outfit identical to the one on Hinata's arm. Then, faster than anyone else could react, the girl seemingly vanished from sight and reappeared in front of Ino with her dagger raised. Squelch. Or so she thought. In contrast to her prior apathetic expression, the unknown girl showed visible shock and surprise on her face when a silver-eyed Naruto suddenly popped up between her and his teammate, stopping her blade mid-swing by allowing it to stab straight into his palm before socking her straight in the gut. Gasping as the wind was knocked out of her lungs, she was left defenseless to follow-up punch to the jaw that sent her tumbling back across the room. Thanks, Ardine, Naruto thought while pulling the knife out of his hand and throwing it away, his eyes fading back to blue as he did so. The goddess had sensed the girl's attack a split second before it happened and reacted for Naruto since she knew he wouldn't be able to fast enough himself. Don't mention it. Ignoring the glares he was getting from the girl's teammates as they helped her up, Naruto turned to Tenten with concern in his eyes. You okay, Tenchan? I'm fine, she only got my clothes, Tenten grumbled, adjusting the torn fabric so that she wouldn't be exposed anywhere too personal. Besides, I should be asking you that, you're bleeding quite a bit there. Ma, it's just a small flesh wound. Naruto waved off her concern while wrapping the stab wound with some bandages he kept handy. If he'd been paying closer attention, he would have seen the intrigued expression on the cloaked girl's face as she reclaimed her dagger, wiping off the blood on the weapon with a small rag before tucking both away somewhere within her cloak. Tenten opened her mouth to comment on how having a knife stabbed through your hand was most certainly not just a flesh wound, but was interrupted when an intimidating man with a bandana covering his head appeared in a puff of smoke along with 24 chunin behind him. All of you shut up and pay attention, he said in a cold tone that could have frozen lava solid, immediately getting everyone's attention as he held a stack of cards with names and numbers on them. I'll give it to you all short and simple. My name is Ibiki, proctor of the first exam, which means for the next 2 hours all your fates lie in my hands. Now get up here, take your card, and go to your assigned seat. Despite speaking in a calm, and even somewhat relaxed tone, the mere presence the man exuded was enough to stop anyone from questioning his orders as they quickly went up and got the card with their name on it before moving to the seat that was labeled for them. Naturally, the assigned seats resulted in everyone being separated from their teammates, likely to make the actual test itself that much harder. When it was all said and done, however, Naruto found himself clenching his fists with a twitching eyebrow as a single thought ran through both his and Artemis' heads. Is this some kind of divine joke? The reason for this was because the whiskered blonde found himself seated right between Hinata and the cloaked girl, the latter of which was continually glancing at him from the corner of her eye. Looking around the room, he found Choji seated on a corner seat by a sandy blonde girl from Suna who had cautiously accepted a few chips he'd offered, and Ino in a middle seat like himself with Kiba on one side and an extremely pissed-looking redhead girl wearing an odd cap on the other. Now that you all are seated, we can start the first exam, a written test, Ibiki said while holding out a stack of papers, making Naruto slam his head against the desk with a groan. Oh, come on! Seriously? He thought in disbelief, barely listening as Ibiki explained the rules while the Chunin passed out the test and took their own seats on either side of the room. Said rules included how everyone had to solve 9 questions before getting a 10th one near the end of the 2 hours, and if anyone was caught cheating 5 times, they and their team would be booted. Artine, I need your help again. Don't worry, I'm right here, but you'll have to stay in control for now. Too many eyes on us to risk sinking right now, Artemis stated, getting Naruto to mentally nod in understanding before flipping the test over and read the first question. If you throw a shuriken at target X at a 36-degree angle and approximately 50 feet per second with a 10-mile-per-hour wind blowing towards your left, how far will the weapon fly off its original course of direction, and what would you need to adjust to compensate this change to still hit target X? This could be a bit more trouble than I thought. 1 hour and 45 minutes later. And done, Naruto thought as he wrote down the answer for the 9th question and flipped the sheet over before dropping his head on the table with a tired sigh. Oh Kami, my head hurts. Your head hurts? I was the one who had to do all the math. Artemis snapped grouchily as she rubbed her forehead. Just be happy that I remembered those rants Athena would go into. Each question had been absolutely head-churning, involving complex equations and calculations that only those who were really intelligent would be able to solve without any issue. Halfway through the test, Artemis figured out that the point of the test was to cheat after discreetly observing the other genin through Naruto's eyes. She didn't mention it to the blonde though, since either of them had a viable way to do so without getting caught, which meant they were stuck doing the test the legitimate way. In that time, nearly a third of the teams had been booted out due to being caught too many times, and a guy dressed in what looked like a cat onesie asked to go to the restroom. The biggest downside in his opinion though was that the cloaked girl beside him, Shizuka according to the name on her test, not only managed to quickly finish the test, but the moment she did immediately went back to staring at him. Yeah, whatever you say, Nei-chan, Naruto thought, before groaning as Ibiki clapped his hands to get everyone's attention. Alright, it's time for the 10th question. However, before I tell you what it is, you all must decide whether you're willing to take it or if you want to give up now, the man said, getting a chorus of confused mumbling in response. What kind of bull is this? Of course we're gonna take it, a random genin in the back exclaimed, with several others voicing their agreement. Naruto would have been one of them but was cut off by Artemis. Hold up, Naruto, I've seen this sort of situation before. He's most likely going to reveal a catch. I wouldn't be so sure of that if I were you. I haven't gotten to the good part yet, Ibiki stated calmly as the classroom fell silent once more. If you quit now, you and the rest of your team will forfeit from the Chunin exams. However, for all of you who decide to take the 10 question and fail to answer it correctly, you will not only be dropped out, but you will forever be a genin for the rest of your ninja career. Yep, there it is, Artemis said as the entire room erupted into chaos, with almost every single genin crying out in outrage at the man's words. Standing there calmly for a minute and letting the complaints wash over them, Ibiki eventually raised up a single hand up in a silence motion as he released a strong blast of ki that made everyone fall silent once more. Those are the rules and no amount of bitching is going to change that. With that said, this is the moment of truth, do or die. Raise your hand if you wish to quit, you have 5 minutes to decide. With his piece said, Ibiki sat back down in his seat and watched them all consider what he had told them. So we still going through with this? Artemis asked Naruto as he stared down at his test sheet intensely. That would be a pretty big setback towards your goal of becoming Hokage if you're stuck as a genin forever. But if I don't try, then I'll still be a genin anyway, Naruto thought with a small shrug. Besides, you would kick my ass 6 ways to Sunday if I gave up now, since that would mean you just did all that math for nothing. You aren't wrong. With his mind made up, Naruto sat there quietly, watching as the tension in the room gradually built up until some of the genin finally snapped and called it quits. It wasn't many, just 6 teams out of the 30 or so that were left, but it still was enough to lay the pressure down on the remainder extra hard as Ibiki stood back up. Last chance, any more quitters? He asked while sweeping his gaze across the room. Upon not getting any response whatsoever, the man nodded his head approvingly. Alright, then it is time to congratulate you all on passing the first exam. Huh! Almost the entire room exclaimed in shock and confusion, making Ibiki chuckle softly at their surprise. But what about the 10th question? Naruto couldn't help but yell out. You just answered it, the intimidating man said while taking off the bandana he was wearing, revealing the numerous scars and burns covering his bald head. As a ninja, you will find yourself in numerous missions that require you to undertake substantial risk in order to succeed. The meaning of this test was to determine if you would be able to handle the pressure of such a situation, and since you all are still here, then that means you pass. A secret test hidden underneath 2 false tests. Clever, Artemis said with an approving nod, before frowning as a realization hit her. Since the first and second tests were fake, that meant the written test itself was completely pointless, which also meant that she just gave herself a huge headache for no reason. Oh son of a crash. The goddess was cut off from her swearing tangent before it could begin when a black mass suddenly smashed through the window and unfurled, revealing itself to be a large banner that tacked itself in place directly in front of Ibiki with Kanai. Said banner had introducing the sexy and amazing second exam proctor and her adorable assistant in bold white kanji. And standing in front of the newly placed banner was none other than Enko with Tisho seated on her shoulder, the little Lamia wearing a miniature version of the purplet's outfit. Hello Gakis. Are all of you ready for the second part of the OOF? Almost the epicness Enko had going for her was completely ruined when Naruto pounced on her angrily. Enko! What the hell is Taisho-chan wearing? Chapter 18. Last time. And standing in front of the newly placed banner was none other than Enko with Tisho seated on her shoulder, the little Lamia wearing a miniature version of the purplet's outfit. Hello Gakis. Are all of you ready for the second part of the OOF? Almost all the epicness Enko had going for her was completely ruined when Naruto pounced on her angrily. Enko! What the hell is Taisho-chan wearing? And now? Well that was fun, Enko said with a giggle as she held a tied-up and gagged Naruto over her shoulders while everyone else in the class stared at her with sweat drops running down their heads. It had taken her all of 3 seconds to catch, restrain, and detain Naruto after his attempted assault, with most of the class barely even able to keep up with the flurry of movements that preceded. Where she even got the rope to do so was a mystery everyone was wondering since she seemed to just pull it out of thin air. Anyway, back to business. For those of you who can't read, I am your second exam proctor. As for what that exam is, meet me at training ground 44 in 20 minutes to find out. My assistant here will show you the directions now. As she was speaking, Tisho slithered up to the top of Enko's head and unfurled a small scroll which contained a map of Konoha, or at least that was what it was supposed to be. A good majority of it had been doodled over with crayon, thus obscuring the aforementioned map and directions pretty badly. Just so you know, if you're even a second late then you're disqualified. Of course Enko either didn't know or didn't care, likely the latter, as she took the mess-up map and tucked it away between her breasts while walking back towards the window she came in from. Now if you all don't mind, I have places to be, dango to eat, and coffins to pick up. Ciao. And just like that she was gone, her laughter echoing through the room as most of the genin scrambled to meet up with their teammates and rush for the door. The only exceptions to this were the angry redheads team who simply marched out the door with a flurry of curses, the Suna team who walked out calmly with a redhead boy carrying a massive sand gourd in the lead, the mystery girl who poofed out of sight with a shunshin along with her teammates, and the remainder of Team 10 who stared out the window that Enko left. Did she forget that she still has Naruto with her? Ino asked dully, making Choji shrug as he munched on some chips. Probably. Are we ever going to meet somebody normal? Probably not. Sighing in defeat, Ino slumped over a bit as she and Choji shuffled out of the room. It's days like this I really regret becoming a ninja. Would being a florist have been all that bad? 15 minutes later. Naruto's eyebrow twitched rapidly in annoyance as he lay face first on the ground just outside a fenced-off forest, still firmly tied up from head to toe and gagged while Enko sat on his back with a teasing grin as she and Tisho snacked on some dango. On the plus side though, not only was the ground soft and grassy but his little Lamia was out of the mini Enko outfit and now wearing an adorable purple dress with blue trim and even had her crown atop her head, giving her the appearance of a princess. Finishing the last few bites of her snack just as the first few genin started showing up, which just so happened to be that cloaked girls team, Anko stood up with a satisfied sigh and stretched her arms before casually pulling Naruto to his feet and cutting him free of his bindings. Thanks for being my seat, Gaki. Your back is surprisingly comfortable. Not like you gave me much of a choice, Naruto said with a glare after pulling the ball of cloth out of his mouth. I'll get you back for that, Tabeo. Don't be so fussy, Gaki. It wasn't that bad, Anko said while patting the whiskered blonde on the back. Besides, if it makes you feel better, you can keep the panties. What? Naruto asked after a brief pause. You heard me, I said you can keep the panties, Anko stated pointedly with a mischievous smirk while gesturing to the wadded-up cloth in Naruto's hand just as it unbundled to reveal a pair of light purple women's underwear covered in his saliva. Damn, this woman is almost as good as Aphrodite at teasing people, Artemis said with begrudging respect as Naruto's face practically melted from how red it became. Bwahahaha. Oh man, Gaki, your face is priceless. Anko howled in laughter, doubling over as she held her shaking sides, not even caring when Naruto threw the spit-soaked undergarments in her face and stomped off to meet up with his teammates. Once she managed to regain her composure, the woman pulled the underwear off and tossed them into a nearby trash can along with their packaging, revealing that they were in fact not her actual underwear. As for why she just happened to have a set of brand new panties on hand, we will never know. Wiping off the rest of the spit off her face with one last chuckle, Anko's grin suddenly took on a more sadistic edge as she turned her attention towards the crowd of gathered genin now standing before her. Hello, Gakis, and welcome to my personal playground, Training Ground 44, otherwise known as the Forest of Death. Her grin widening at the nervous expressions that popped up on almost everyone's faces, the purplet reached into her trench coat and pulled out a pair of scrolls, one with the kanji for earth and the other heaven. Your second exam is simply, well, in concept at least. Each of you will go into there with either an earth scroll or a heaven scroll. Your task is to retrieve the opposing scroll by any means necessary and head towards the tower in the exact middle of the forest with both in your possession and as a full team. You have exactly 5 days to do this, and if you are even a second later, then you best not let the door hit your ass or your corpse on the way out, she explained with a dark chuckle that made several teams even more nervous. Apollo's children would kill to have her as a villain actress, Artemis said with an approving nod. To be able to switch from her natural playful and teasing personality with a faux sadistic personality so flawlessly was an impressive feat. Hell, if it wasn't for the fact she and Naruto already knew the woman, she'd probably been convinced by the act as well. Before you are given your scroll though, I need each one of you to sign of these little waivers, Anko continued while Tisho held up one of the papers for everyone to see. That way, when the weaklings amongst you die in there, Konoha can be in no way held accountable for your untimely yet inevitable demise. Now get your asses moving before I punt you into that forest myself. With her piece said, the scantily dressed woman walked off with another bout of dark laughter while the teams lined up at a series of curtain booths to get their scrolls. By Kami, that woman is terrifying, Ino said with a shiver as she, Naruto, and Choji walked out of one of the booths and headed for one of the multiple gates leading into the Forest of Death, the Mind Walker carefully hiding a tiny storage scroll in her shirt, which held their heaven scroll. Yeah, she can really scare you when she tries, but Anko-chan is actually pretty fun to hang out with, most of the time, Naruto said with a shrug before frowning heavily. Now how am I gonna get her back for that panty prank? Perhaps you could make her eat a pair of you boxers, Artemis suggested jokingly, making Naruto scoff with a good-natured roll of his eyes. How about an idea that doesn't end with me going to the hospital so Tsuba-chan can reattach all my fingers? Hello? Hello? Testing 1 2 testing. Is this thing on? Anko's voice called out over a speaker system before Artemis could come up with a witty comeback. Well, if all you lovely Gakis can hear me, then let me just say 320 go. Startled by the sudden screaming along with the gates flinging open at the same time, Team 10 instinctually darted into the forest at top speed, quickly crossing over several hundred yards of terrain in just a minute via tree hopping before slowing down to catch their breath. Fun to hang out with, huh? Ino asked sarcastically as she panted for air, sending an annoyed glare at Naruto's back. I said most of the time, Naruto shot back with a sigh before taking in their surroundings, not even winded from the sudden sprint. We need to keep moving. We have maybe 3 hours until it starts getting dark. Okay, then that's how long we have to try and find a team with an Earth scroll, Choji said as he and Ino got ready to get going again. However, the instant both of them tried to jump off and start tree hopping once more, Naruto stopped them cold, grabbing them by their shirt collars. Nope, bad idea, the whiskered blonde said, getting a pair of confused looks in response. How is doing what we're supposed to do a bad idea? Ino demanded with an incredulous look. Because we are in unknown territory filled with things that probably want to kill us, along with over 24 different teams looking to steal our scroll, and probably kill us as well, Naruto said, adding the last bit as an afterthought. Well, that's... Ino started to say angrily, only to trail off once her brain registered what Naruto said. Actually, a pretty good point. Our best bet right now would be to find a relatively safe place to hunker down for tonight. Then I can have my clones scout out the area so we can get a grasp of our surroundings, see what we're dealing with, and possibly start setting some traps, Naruto said as he kept looking around. Guys? Naruto asked as he turned back to his team after several moments of silence, only to be met with blank stares of disbelief. What? That was so Artemis's plan, wasn't it? Ino asked with a raised brow. Hey! I would never steal one of Artemis' ideas like that, Naruto exclaimed, insulted that Ino would even think he'd do something like that. For your information, me and her go out on hunting trips all the time, and she taught me a lot about. Naruto suddenly stopped mid-sentence as a chill ran up his spine and his hair started to stand up on end, while his danger senses started screaming at him to leave. What is this feeling? What's going on? Naruto thought as he staggered slightly. Artemis? I don't know either, Naruto, but I'd suggest we heed that feeling and get out of here, the moon goddess said with a frown, knowing from experience that it was never wise to ignore one's instincts. We need to go, Naruto said curtly as he started fast walking, making Ino and Choji blink in surprise at his sudden attitude change before quickly following after him. Whoa! Chill out, Naruto. What's wrong? The big bone member of Team 10 asked, seeing the worry written all over the whiskered blonde's face as his eyes darted all over the place looking for something. Yeah, what the heck? You look like you've seen a ghost or something, Ino said, admittedly feeling more than a little annoyed yet nervous since she'd never seen Naruto look so spooked. I don't know why, but something about this place feels wrong, like we shouldn't be here, Naruto said seriously while fiddling with his holsters, ready to summon the lunar blades at a second's notice. What? Ino yelled incredulously as she grabbed the scruff of Naruto's jacket and pulled him right up to her face. That's it. You have a feeling? Stop trying to show off, you idiot, and... Ino stopped talking. Naruto cut in, his eyes going wide as he stared behind her along with Choji, the latter of which looked ready to crap himself. What did you just MMMPH? Ino started to yell more, only for Naruto to clap a hand over her mouth and pull her close. Ino, shut the fuck up right now or we are all going to die, Naruto whispered in her ear in a dead serious tone that Ino ignored at first. Grr. Until she heard the deep growling behind her. Slowly turning around in her fellow blonde's grasp, the Mindwalker froze in fear as she saw the source of the noise. Wolves. At least a dozen wolves, each one easily bigger than a full-grown bear, slowly stalking towards them with their large and very sharp-looking teeth bared. And judging by the scars covering their bodies that were clearly caused by either kunai or jutsu, definitely not friendly towards humans. Ino, get behind me, slowly. Do not try to run away or they will attack, Naruto whispered, getting a small whimper in response from the girl before she slunk out of his loosened arms and doing as he said, her eyes never breaking from the approaching canines. Kyuso, we must have walked right into these guys' territory. No, if that was the case they would have just killed you or driven you off by now. And they're not hunting, otherwise they would have surrounded you first before revealing themselves, Artemis stated with a frown as she watched the wolves through Naruto's eyes. Are you sure? Because it looks like they're fixing that up right now, Artemis, Naruto said as the massive canines started to encircle the trio. Okay, fighting these guys will just tire us out, so maybe we can escape by tree thump, or not, Naruto couldn't help but stare in disbelief as a wolf that was slightly larger than the rest suddenly dropped out of the canopy right in front of him, whilst also noticing the several other shadows amongst the leaves that growled softly. It was at least 8 feet long and 4 feet tall, with yellowish-brown fur and a dull gray underbelly, and vibrant green eyes that shined with intelligence as it stared straight into his. "Shit, so that's what's going on," Artemis said with a groan. "Ardine, explanation please?" Naruto asked, sweating heavily as the wolf got right in his face and sniffed. "To put simply, these guys most likely started tracking us the instant we entered the forest because my presence is making you a default pack leader due to wolves being my sacred animal. That's why you felt so nervous. Your instincts were warning you of another top dog coming near," Artemis said just as the wolf growled softly at him, while her companions settled into a wide ring around them. "This is a challenge. She's the leader of this pack and wants to fight you to reassure her pack of her authority." "So what? Me just being here is pissing her off?" "Pretty much. As long as you are in her domain, you are a threat to her leadership." "Okay, then should I act submissive? Show her that I don't mean any harm or something?" Naruto asked as the now identified pack leader patted a few feet back and sat down with an expectant look. Sure, he was pretty sure that if they went all out he and his team could get out of this mess, but it would not be unscathed, and there were just too many unknowns in this forest to risk injuring themselves like that. "Wouldn't work, you're too big a player now. The only way we get out of this alive is if you take her down by yourself. No jutsu, no weapons, no assists." "Wonderful," Naruto grumbled aloud before unclipping his dagger sheaths and letting them fall to the ground. "Ino, Choji, I know this is gonna sound crazy, but whatever you do, do not help me." "What are you talking about, Naruto?" Choji asked, having recovered from his shock somewhat and been just about to start the hand signs for his human boulder technique when Naruto spoke. "Yeah, are you nuts? You want to take them all by yourself?" Ino screamed even as she continued to use her fellow blonde as a meat shield. "Just trust me, okay? Me and Ardine know what we're doing," Naruto said while taking off his jacket, revealing the plain white shirt he wore underneath. Stretching his arms a bit, he stared straight into the pack leader's eyes and did his best imitation of a growl. It seemed to do the job though, as she immediately stood up and the duo began circling each other. "Besides, I'm not taking them all on. This is just between the two of us, isn't that right, Okami, Wolf-chan?" Naruto asked rhetorically, unable to help the excited grin that cropped up on his face as he and the wolf got closer and closer with each circle. To his surprise though, Okami-chan actually grinned back at him, which was actually quite scary looking given she was a wolf, before giving a soft excited-sounding yip. "Ah, such a smart girl. Athena was so bitter when I got wolves instead of her," Artemis said with a chuckle, remembering how upset the wisdom goddess had been when she only got one of the 2 sacred animals she wanted. "So you can understand me, good. Then how about we stop dancing around and get this fight started?" Naruto yelled before he and the wolf charged each other. "Gra!" Okami-chan snarled as she tried to snap her jaws around Naruto's throat, only for the boy to twist out of the way at the last second and counter with a punch to the side of her head. However, despite putting as much force as he could into the blow in hopes for a quick victory, the whiskered blonde was shocked when his fist barely even made the canine flinch before spinning around and smacking him across the area with a swing of her tail. "By Kami, what is that wolf made of?" Naruto groaned as he got up, shaking his aching hand with a mild grimace. "Don't forget, this place is meant to be a challenge for trained fighters. It would only make sense that the creatures here are much more durable than your run-of-the-mill forest critters," Artemis stated dully. "Now stop dawdling and get back in there." Yeah, I'm Kyuso," Naruto yelped as he narrowly jumped out of the way of the claws that attempted to shred his face apart. Okami-chan didn't let up one bit, moving at startling speeds as she continued to claw, slash, and bite at him. "Okay, I am much less confident in my fight them all to escape plan," Naruto thought as he struggled to keep ahead of the onslaught, wincing as the wolf's claws grazed his arms. Unlike with Bowser, Okami-chan had the brains to back up her brawn and was making sure to keep him solely on the defensive, leaving little to no openings to counter again. "Naruto, you need to act soon, otherwise she's just gonna whittle you down until you're too hurt to move." Well, do you got any ideas? 'Cause I'm drawing a big flat nothing here, Naruto retorted, hopping back to try and gain some distance to no avail as the pack leader easily kept up with him. Aim for her legs and tail, she relies on balance and maneuverability. Disrupt that somehow, and she'll be left vulnerable. Okay, thanks Nei-chan, Naruto thought before suddenly stopping out of the blue and flopping onto his back. Not expecting such a move, Okami-chan was unable to stop her charge, allowing Naruto to slip right under as she passed. This in turn left her completely helpless when Naruto popped his chakra-reinforced arms out and swept her rear legs out from under her, sending her tumbling several feet across the ground. Not wanting to give her any time to recover, Naruto quickly got back up and pounced on the downed wolf and wrapped his arm around her neck in a chokehold. Naruto, what are you doing? You should have kept going for the legs. This is not a good idea, Artemis said as Okami-chan scrambled back to her feet and started bucking around wildly while smashing herself and Naruto into several trees to try and knock him off. Gah! Yeah, definitely ow. Not a good idea. Ack! Naruto yelled, grunting in pain from the repeated collisions as he struggled to keep his hold. Deciding to do more than just flail on her back helplessly though, Naruto channeled chakra into his fist and punched Okami-chan in the side of the neck, causing her to stumble with an audible gagging sound. Smirking at this, Naruto repeated the action over and over, raining down punches all around the wolf's neck as she continued to try and knock him loose. However, the boy stopped a few seconds later when his unwilling steed suddenly stopped moving altogether. Did I win? Nope, but I'm pretty sure you're about to learn what being a pancake feels like, Artemis said, making Naruto's eyes widen. OSHMMPH. Unable to respond in time, Naruto found himself squished under several 100 pounds of wolf muscle as Okami-chan flopped over and rolled onto her back. Then to make matters worse, she rolled side to side, grinding him into the ground with more than a few sickening crunches before getting back up, leaving him embedded in the ground. Groaning in pain, Naruto ever so slowly pulled himself up once again, only this time hugging his chest with one hand. Ugh, that hurt a lot. Be thankful that only fractured a few of your ribs. If that had been anyone else they'd be nothing but paste right now. Meanwhile, on the sidelines, Choji and Ino watched as their teammate struggled to stay standing as he pulled himself out of the ground, the pack leader circling around him once more. Why are we just standing here? We should be helping him, Ino said, lifting her hands to do one of her family's jutsu, only for Choji to stop her. I don't think we can, Ino, not unless you think you can take on all of them as well, the big-boned boy said while gesturing to the numerous wolves that were either watching both them and the fight from either the ground or in the trees. Grr, damn it! The blonde girl grunted as she let her hands drop, unable to refute his point. Back to the fight, Naruto was breathing slightly heavily as he watched Okami-chan circle him cautiously. So, looks like we're about even still, huh? He asked, seeing the wolf limping slightly whenever she put weight on her rear legs and the awkwardness she moved her head due no doubt to bruising around her neck. Growling softly at him, Okami-chan snapped her jaw a few times as she stopped right in front of him and crouched, her muscles tensing up. One last go, Naruto said with a feral grin as he stretched his arms out and braced himself as best he could. Come on then, bring it! Needing no other prompting, the large wolf charged, barreling towards him at top speed, crossing the distance between them in just a few seconds, her teeth prepped and ready to sink into his flesh. Squelch. Just not the flesh she intended. At the last possible second, Naruto's hands shot out and caught her jaws, his feet digging a shallow trench into the ground as he skid back several feet before managing to stop. Sweat ran down the whiskered blonde's brow as his arms shook from the force of holding the massive wolf back, only made worse by the blood and slobber dripping down from his palms. Knowing he'd only be able to keep this up for a few more seconds, Naruto quickly did the only thing he could think of that could save him right now. Chomp YP. 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 He bit back. Clenching his jaw as hard as he could, Naruto's teeth sank right into the sensitive tissue of Okami-chan's nose, making the wolf yelp in pain form the sudden jolt of pain. Squirming back out of his grasp, the pack leader shook her head wildly as her eyes teared up, leaving her completely blind to the powerful uppercut that snapped her jaw shut and made her bite her own tongue. Then, before she even knew what happened, Naruto grabbed her around the neck once more, and in a surprising feat of strength, hefted her entire body into the air before roughly slamming her back into the ground back first. Completely dazed from both the impact and pain running through her body, the pack leader could do nothing as Naruto sat down on her neck, using his weight to keep her head from moving, and roughly grabbed her ears. "I won this fight, Okami-chan, now be a good girl and heal." Growling in response, the wolf tried to bite him, but immediately stopped with a whimper when he pulled on one ear and twisted the other. "Oh no you don't," I said. "Heal." Naruto growled out as he got right in her face with a glare, to which Okami-chan glared back defiantly and tried to resist again, only to be met with similar results. This kept going for several minutes, with the downed wolf trying to keep fighting, to throw Naruto off and kill him, only for the whiskered blonde to keep her subdued by his weight pressing against her throat and a firm pull of her ears. Eventually, though, her struggling died down as she panted weakly in exhaustion from a combination of her injuries and restricted oxygen supply. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the last vestiges of resistance died out in her eyes as she lowered her head with a defeated whine. "Congratulations, Naruto, you won," Artemis said with just a hint of pride in her voice while the surrounding wolves howled in sync. "You are now the pack leader." "Yay," Naruto thought as he slid off Okami-chan and flopped onto the ground with a tired grunt before turning to the wolf with an apologetic smile. "Sorry about biting your nose and pulling your ears like that, Okami-chan. I hope I didn't hurt you too badly." Huffing in response, the ex-pack leader rolled her eyes and licked his face, making Naruto chuckle briefly before clutching his side in pain. Both Ino and Choji watched this all happen with wide eyes filled to the brim in disbelief. "Choji. Yeah? Did Naruto just beat the Kyuso out of a giant wolf, then make friends with it and its buddies?" "Yeah." Snapping out of her stupor, Ino sighed in exasperation while rubbing her temple, her prior worry all but non-existent as the once aggressive canines surrounding them calmed down, with a few of the smallish ones actually walking up and sniffing them before backing off. "Typical, that boy can't go 5 minutes without doing something completely insane and impossible, can he?" "Nope," Choji said while snacking on some chips he got from somewhere, sharing a few with an older-looking wolf when it prodded the bag curiously. As this was all going on, though, none of the gathered group noticed as a pair of brown eyes watched this all happen from the shadows with a sinister gleam. "Perfect, the fucker went and tired himself out already. Now I just have to wait for the perfect moment, and I'll be done with this shitty mission and out of this stupid fucking exam before the sun fully sets." That's it for part 5. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.